Today for repair we have a Game Boy Color, but not just any Game Boy Color. We have a Game Boy Color that has been heavily damaged by leaking batteries. It also looks like someone tried to repair it but had no luck, as the battery tabs don't have any contact with the circuit board. I'm pretty confident that we can get this working again, but first let's remove the battery tabs and clean up all that solder. In order to see the full damage, I'll have to remove the solder mask so we can inspect the traces, but before we do that, all the parts in the area have to be removed to avoid damaging them. I'll use my hot air gun and some tweezers to pull off all the parts. Now this may be overkill, but I feel like we passed overkill with the broken into Game Boy Pocket repair. With all the components off, we can now remove the solder mask using sandpaper. It's important to wear a respirator when doing this, as you don't want to breathe any of the stuff in, as it can contain fiberglass, and you definitely don't want that in your lungs. Removing the solder mask makes repairing the damaged traces a lot easier, as you can see them. With all the traces now visible, we can solder all the parts back on. Now it's time to fix all the damaged traces using 30 gauge wire. The vias can be repaired by feeding wire through them and soldering it on both sides to restore the connection. With all the broken traces near the batteries fixed, we can now test it for signs of life using an external power supply. So it powers on, but the power LED isn't working. I doubt the LED is bad. Given all the corrosion, I'm willing to bet there's more damaged traces. I'm removing the port and volume wheel to see if there's any damage underneath. They also need to be replaced as they are heavily corroded, and I doubt I can clean them successfully. Following the traces around Q2, which controls the LED, you can see more damaged vias. I bet this is why it isn't turning on. Some of the solder mask needs to be scraped away to create a solder point for the wire. More damage was hiding underneath the LED itself. And with all those traces fixed, the LED now works. Next, we have to repair all of the corroded button contacts. You can do this a few ways, but the easiest would be to use these awesome replacement button PCBs that were designed and gifted to me from Froggo Customs. Check out his Instagram below for more information, how to get your own, and also just stick around to check out some of the stuff he's up to. These can be fixed into place by lining up the holes and soldering the ground connections. Then you can solder wires to the pads on the PCB, then to the Game Boy to restore the connection. The 4 wires from the button pads will be soldered to these 4 vias. I'm not using the D-pad, so I won't have to worry about that. You can check out Froggo Custom's Instagram to see where the D-pad wires can go, and also to give you some sort of visual representation as to where the other wires should go as well. Now it's time to solder in the replacement ports and volume wheel. There's nothing left on the PCB to hold the battery tabs in place, so I'll have to get a little creative here. In order to secure them to the PCB, I'm using a piece of plastic tube to hold them up, then I'll apply a generous amount of epoxy to ensure they're not going anywhere. All the exposed copper and jumper wires are now conformal coated to prevent oxidizing and to hold them in place. The display that came with this Game Boy was far too gone, so I swapped it out with a somewhat new one. I also threw on this new screen cover. After assembling the Game Boy and giving it a full test, I realized that the sound was missing. Now, since the speaker and volume wheel are brand new, I think I'm back to looking for another broken trace. This broken trace was really easy to find as it goes from one side of the speaker all the way to the audio amplifier. I was able to follow this trace using a multimeter set to continuity mode, and it led me to one damaged via. We can fix it with 30 gauge wire just like the other ones. Now let's close it up and see how we did. The Game Boy is now fully assembled. Just a quick recap, we repaired a bunch of corroded etches, the corroded battery tabs, replaced a bunch of corroded parts that I tried cleaning but it didn't work out. Installed a somewhat new screen because the original one was very damaged, and I also went ahead and replaced the screen cover with a Pokemon one that I was gifted to from a fellow Redditor, and I put it on this Game Boy because the owner of this one said they like Pokemon, so I figured it was a perfect fit, and the repairs just look amazing through this translucent purple. I think it turned out really nice. Now I did have to reroute that speaker wire I showed you in the last trace repair, because when I had it going routed this way up and over, I had it going through a hole on the cart reader. This is just a scrap Game Boy motherboard that I have. I had it going through this hole right here, and the problem with that was whenever you put a cart inside, it would touch it, so I didn't think that would last long term. So what I did instead was I routed it up this way, over, underneath, and in between the circuit board. That way it could miss the case when closing and also not interfere with the cart reader. Then over and soldered to that amp chip, and it seems to work just fine. It's out of the way. You can see it just floating here. I'm not a huge fan of floating wires, but it's not going anywhere. It's pretty well staked. This repair would not have been possible without these custom PCBs that were donated to me from Lego My Froggo. He's a Redditor and also has an Instagram. I'll link his Instagram in the details below. You can check out a lot of his amazing work. He is currently designing replacement PCBs for Game Boys, which I think is really cool, and I'll have to see if he's sharing those files for free. I believe he's sharing these files for free for the button boards, but go ahead and check out his Instagram, show him some love. I mean, I really appreciate the fact that he donated these and that me and him could come together to repair this Game Boy for another Redditor, and I think it turned out amazing, and these button PCBs were just the icing on the cake here. They look amazing, they fit perfectly, and you don't even notice they're there. I got a few comments on Reddit asking if you can feel them when you're pushing the button. You really can't. You can't feel them at all. Everything feels as if it should. I mean, they're really thin. You're not going to notice it. Turned out amazingly, but I know we just want to see it work. So let's go ahead and throw in some batteries. I don't have the cover for this, the battery cover for it, so can't do anything there. That's all I can do. I went ahead and reflowed this copy of Pokemon because I feel like it's fitting to test it out using a Pokemon cart. I don't play Pokemon. I do appreciate it, though. I just don't play it. It's not my cup of tea. But I felt like Frogger would just not do justice on this Game Boy. So let's go ahead and turn it on. You get that audio. Now I did create a file on this already, so I should be able just to load right in. So we can see all the directional buttons worked. Of course, they were the only buttons that weren't affected from the battery corrosion. A button works, B button works. Start works. I don't think I can test select right now. Yeah, I don't think I can test select, but it works as well. I have tested it on other games. Yeah, I just don't play Pokemon. I'm sure you can tell by this gameplay. But yeah, I just felt like it would be a perfect game to test this out. That's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this type of repair work, stick around if you want. I have a few more things planned in the future. Thank you again for watching. Check out Lego My Froggo for all his awesome PCB designs and just awesome custom Game Boy builds that he's doing as well. It's very interesting stuff on Instagram. I'm glad to be a part of this community. It is a lot of fun, and I do enjoy repairing these horribly damaged Game Boys and carts alike. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.